Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Pinkfresh Studio. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am creating this beautiful fall-inspired card featuring the new Blushing Floral Background stamp from Pinkfresh Studio. I absolutely love the dainty lines on this stamp, and I thought it would be fun to kind of create something a little more fall in feeling because I really want it to feel like fall here in California. And it does not at all. And I'm going to be using my Misty stamping tool to stamp this onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock. So I've gone ahead and removed my mouse pad, or if you do not have the Misty mouse pad, you would remove the black foam from your Misty stamping tool to use this rubber cling mount stamp in your Misty. And I'm prepping the surface of this Bristol Smooth with my powder tool and then inking up with some Versamark ink and stamping that right onto the Bristol Smooth cardstock. Now for me, Bristol Smooth is the key to ink blending. Now I know that there are people who can blend on Nina Solar White like it's no biggie at all, but for me, Bristol Smooth makes the job a little bit easier. It's hard to describe the paper if you've never used it before. It feels like maybe it's just like really smooth, which is implied in the name, but it also maybe has a little bit of coating. And what that does is it keeps the ink from absorbing into the paper right away and allows the ink to kind of glide over the surface. So now that I've stamped my background stamp, I actually inked it and stamped it twice. I covered it with some white embossing powder and I heat set that. Now I'm going to bring in my Pinkfresh Studio inks and blend over the top of this embossed background, and that's going to give me that emboss resist effect. It's not something that I actually do a lot. I know Laura Basson does it all the time, but I really did enjoy this process today because I was trying to create this mix of different yellows because I had been inspired by a post I saw on Instagram. I'm going to try to link that in the description below so you can see this card that I was inspired by. And you can see if I hit the mark or not as far as inspiration goes. So I started out by blending a layer of the sweet mustard ink over the entire background image, and then I'm going in with the Marigold. Now I'm going to concentrate the Marigold more towards the outer edges and try to leave that center part a little bit lighter with that sweet mustard, and you can see through the magic of television and a lot of ink blending. I have a beautiful background here. Now this yellow was actually a little bit brighter than what I wanted. I wanted something more of an antiqued yellow. It's kind of hard to describe, but I thought bringing in a little bit of this warm buff over the top would kind of mute that back and kind of help it to antique or kind of neutralize it a little bit. I'm not sure exactly. I knew what I wanted in my head. I don't know how to describe that to you. But I just added a little bit of warm buff around the edges, and that kind of took that yellow, the brightness back just a little bit. And you can see when I'm done here, I'm just buffing the surface of that embossing powder with a clean dry cloth to remove any ink that is still sitting on top of the embossing. Now I have these stitched rectangles from Pinkfresh Studio, and I am going to die cut this panel that I've created. I'm kind of trying to go right in the center of the image, and I'll run that through my Gemini Junior, and I have this beautiful stitched rectangle panel for my card front. Now, when I was looking at this, I felt like I saw a little bit too much of the brown coming through, so I went back over with the Marigold around the edges of this panel, and that gave me the perfect color that I was looking for. So sometimes when you're trying to create a color on your background, you may not have the perfect inks, but by layering up and mixing a few of the inks on your background, you can get the perfect shade. So here is the completed panel, and now I'm going to move on to creating my card base. I have a piece of craft cardstock here. It's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I scored it at 5 1/2 inches, and I'm reinforcing that fold line with my bone folder. And then I'm going to take this over to my Misty where I still have that beautiful floral background mounted onto my lid, and I'm going to heat emboss this on white on this craft cardstock. Now, if you've never done white heat embossing on craft cardstock, you are missing out. I'm telling you, it is the most beautiful effect. It gives you the most bright white image when you use that white embossing powder on craft, and I absolutely love it, especially for the holidays. So you'll probably see me using this white embossing on craft coming up more for the holidays as well. So once I have that image stamped onto my card front, I'm going to add my white embossing powder and I'm going to heat set that. And this cardstock warped quite a bit when I was doing my heat setting, probably because, do you see how close my heat tool was to my surface there? Not good. Bring it back just a little bit. But sometimes I get a little excited and I get it a little close. But that's okay. I'm going to fix it by just sticking it under my MISTI on my desk and leaving it there and letting it kind of flatten out a bit. So now that I have my card front and my card base created, I'm going to work on kind of this grouping that I'm planning for my sentiment. And I'm using the basic label frames dies from Pinkfresh Studio. And I'm taping 2 of those kind of nested inside each other so I can die cut a beautiful hexagon frame. I'm just using some gold cardstock, running that through my Gemini Junior with those dies kind of taped together. And I'm left with this really beautiful, delicate frame. I'm going to set that aside. And I also die cut the hello greeting along with the shadow. I die cut the hello from some Nina Solar White and the hello from some vellum. And I'm gluing those together. Those are from the Phrase Builder Hello die set. Has some great die sentiment dies in it. And once I've glued those layered on top of each other, I am going to add some foam adhesive, some really thin strips of foam adhesive to the back. And I'm going to attach this embossed greeting strip. This greeting is from the Leafy decor stamp set from Pinkfresh Studio. So I have that kind of all grouped up there with my hexagon, and now I can go ahead and assemble my card. So I used some foam adhesive to adhere this card front over the card base, and I made sure that the pattern on the card front that's ink blended lined up with the pattern that's embossed on the card base, and that gives it that really cool continual pattern effect. Then I'm going to remove the backer from the foam adhesive on the back of this little sentiment grouping here and frame grouping, and I'm going to attach that onto my card front. And I did use my T-square ruler to make sure I got that straight on the front of my card. I finished my card off with a few little yellow jewels here and just some liquid adhesive. And then I added a little heart to that sentiment strip. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to cover that heart and that hello die cut sentiment with some tonic aqua shimmer pin. And that's just going to give it a little extra something, a little extra shine to complete this card. So there you have it, a very simple card, but very fall and floral inspired. And I really love the way that this ink blended panel turned out. It was exactly what I was going for. It took me a few steps to get there, but in the end, it was absolutely worth it. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check the description there. I really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the Pinkfresh YouTube channel here so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials featured here. As always, thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.